You're tuned in now, so let's begin. A show where stories always win. Grab your seat and lend your ear. The moment's bright, the vibe is clear. It's Tell Me Everything. Stars inside, gonna sing and swing. With Rosal and Duke, there's joy in the air. Life's a show and we're all there. In the spotlight, tales unfold. New adventures started bold. With Rosal and Duke, here's joy in the air. Life's a show and we're all there. Get ready for the fun to rise. Every story a surprise. Rosalind's here to guide the way. So much to hear, so much to say. It's Tell Me Everything. Stars inside, gonna sing and swing. With Rosal and Duke, there's joy in the air. Life's a show and we're all there.
Well, hello.
Well, hello. I'm now nervous about what I'm getting into. I'm like, tell you everything. Do I have to? How does this work exactly?
Yeah. Did you read the title?
I did. Like, I love the intro though. It's very groovy. It's a
Very
good
groovy.
beat. I like
Very
that Rat Pack vibe.
Me too. But I couldn't find any swing dancers. Like,
Well, Grok, don't ask Grok.
Oh,
He cannot do it.
I know. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Oh my God. What Grok comes up with when you ask it for swing dancers is the stuff of nightmares. Grok thinks you're asking it for dancers who are also swinging. Not swing dancing.
Right.
But swinging. Sometimes on actual swings, and then sometimes in like gang arrangements. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that.
I get it.
Without getting me demonetized.
He's got a dirty mind, Grok. He does. It always makes me he.
I tried so hard to make swing dancing happen on Grok, and I was just like, I did finally make a Twitter thread of it. Like, oh my God, this is what I've been doing for the last 3 hours, and I can't do it anymore.
Right. Well, hello, chat. I'm gonna be talking to Megan and also listening to her. So I really probably won't be able to interact until we're done or, closer to the end. So I apologize in advance, but it's kind of hard to focus on what someone is saying when you're trying to read. Or at least I'm not good at it.
That is the whole streamer conundrum. I do find myself like, missing something Tug is saying because I saw something in the chat and then I'm like trying to cover it up like, yeah, I have no idea what he just said.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
No clue whatsoever.
Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think
Hopefully he doesn't know. He does now. I just
Rogue
told
did
you
that
everything.
yesterday. Rogue did that yesterday on Jay's stream and she's like, I wasn't paying attention.
It's probably better to just fess up. You're like,
it is.
I was distracted.
So I think everyone here knows exactly who you are. But eventually somebody may stumble across this stream and not know who you are. So who is Megan Fox?
Oh, what a question. I'm spending my whole life trying to answer that question. You gave me the hardest question of all right off the bat. Are we talking philosophically or who my parents?
No, I mean, who are you? What do
I do?
What are you up to?
Right. I'm thinking too deeply about it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's not a stare in the mirror kind of thing.
Okay. I'm not that one. Not the one with the weird toe thumbs who was in Transformers. Although even close friends of mine will see headlines with her name in it and they will text me and go, why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? And I'm like, what?
Wrong one.
And I often wonder, does that ever happen to her? Do her friends ever text her and go, "Why are you screwing around with a library in Orland Park showing porn? I don't get it." I I would imagine, or like, "What are you doing covering trials? Like, what why are you a reporter now?" I
What is
often
Otter
wonder if
Creek?
anyone's ever done that to her. Yeah. What is your obsession with Otter Creek, Florida? It's like a hillbilly town in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
So anyway, I'm not there. Obviously, I'm not her. But I have been a journalist for many years. For I don't know, it's been more than 20. I've lost track. I started out when I was like, I guess I was about, I've always been a writer, and I guess I was about 20, 21 when I was working in broadcasting. I had gone to work for radio stations in Chicago. The first broadcasting job that I got was I was working a temp job, like a secretarial job, and I heard an advertisement on the air for a marketing assistant at Premier Radio Networks, which was Rush Limbaugh's
Mhm.
syndicator. And syndicate sounds like a mob. Syndicator is the word I was looking for. And so I like dropped everything immediately. I've always been a huge Limbaugh fan, talk radio, and not just Limbaugh, but AM talk radio in general. I'm showing my age now. But when I was in high school, my dad was a huge talk radio fan, and it was always going in our house. I mean, always. And my mom actually wouldn't sleep in the same room as my dad because he would snore, but he also would have the talk radio station on all the time, and it helped him sleep. And it's weird because I have that same habit. So sometimes I would go sleep in there when I couldn't sleep because it'd be like, yes, I can sleep in here because there's just chatter in the background. So my dad and I are just wired the same that way. So I just had this like flowing into my ears like all my entire life. And I was a big fan. I was a big fan of Don and Roma in Chicago and WLS. I'm a huge WLS fan in Chicago. Love WLS. Ro Khan and Gary Meyer. Jay Marvin used to be on that channel, and Jay Marvin was so funny when he would hang up on people that he was mad at. He would say, you brainstem, and he'd just slam the phone down. It was so great. So good.
We need phones that slam down.
I know. It was such great programming. Tony Snow would come into the station sometimes. Like it was just a cool thing. So I always wanted to be involved in radio and broadcasting. So I heard that, and I went and I sent a resume and a letter in telling them this, like, I've been a talk radio fan since I was born, and this is the job for me. You shouldn't interview anybody else because I will love being there and I will work my ass off, And my boss at the time, it was funny when I got the interview, he called and I got the interview, and I was the only person they interviewed, and he said, "It was your letter. I loved your letter." And he was like, I'm like you. That's why we all do this. We love AM radio. And so he's like, "I knew you would be a good fit." So I did. I worked there for a while. I got to meet Rush a couple times, got to go to his office in New York City and meet people there. And then when they moved his office in Chicago to New York, they wanted me to go with, but at the time I was 24. They wanted me to go to New York City. And no, I was 20. Yeah, I just met my husband. So I was actually only 23 or 22. And I just met my husband. We were dating. And I was like, I can't make it in New York City on a secretary's salary. Are you kidding?
Right.
How am I going to do that? So my boss helped me get an interview at WLS, and I went to work there, and I worked there for a couple of years. I loved it there too. Really, really fun. And I also chose my husband. I was like, he hated New York City. He wasn't going to move to New York City.
Right.
And I had just met him, and I was like, but I love this guy. I can't move across the country. So yeah, I went to work for WLS, and then I started writing at the time on my own blog. At the time, WordPress was a big deal in the 90s. Right. Everybody had a WordPress, and I had one, and I was writing on that. And then my auntie in Hawaii, she emails me one day, and she says, or calls me, and she says, "Meg, they're looking for female conservative feminist writers at David Horowitz's new website called Newsreel Blog. You should apply for that." So I did, and I got that job too. And it was like it was like I was still working at WLS, but I was also able to write on on my free time. So I got my first paid. I remember My first paycheck I got from David Horowitz was so funny. Because my father was a huge fan of Horowitz, huge. He used to talk about his book Prodigal Son all the time, and he loved him. And my dad was very big into reading, and he read all the great conservative thinkers, including Horowitz. I sent my dad a copy of that, and my dad is a very hard man to please. Very hard man to please. It took me that long to get a way to go. Because he was sure I was going to be the screw up of the family. I dropped out of college. I decided I wanted to work instead. I didn't like I didn't like school. And, my sister's a lawyer. My dad was like, you're screwing up. You're screwing up your life. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't like this path. I don't like school. And I decided to go back to school for a little while and take some journalism courses. When I was writing for Horowitz, I decided to take some journalism courses, and I did quite well. But I dropped out of that too, because eventually it was like, well, I'm already working. I don't really need any more of this. And I think I'm good. So I did. I decided, because I was paying for it myself at that time, because my dad was like, I'm not throwing more money down your college nonsense. Like, no, I paid for 1 year. All you did was sit by the pool. Which I don't blame him for. He's right. That would have so no, I had to pay for it.
I get it.
And it was really funny because I had the reason I decided to drop out was interesting. And this is going to get a little political, but I think we can all agree that this was a really bad thing for this professor to have done. I was taking a course in news writing, and we were writing headlines. It's a really interesting, and I loved the course. I mean, it's really interesting to learn about the thing you're doing that you love, right? So we were learning how to write headlines. We're learning how to write a breaking news story. We're learning all of the details that are in the AP guide, how to format it properly. And all those things are really, really important and really good. Until the day she says, and it was 2004, I will never forget this. I was planning on going to the Republican National Convention in New York to cover it for a website I was working for. And it wasn't for Horowitz's site. It was another website. I was kind of, going back and forth. And I was going to cover, I had tickets to go to the RNC in New York, and I was going to cover that event. And it was George W. Bush was going to be there. At the time, I was a huge George W. Bush fan. Don't ask me why. I have changed completely on that. I've made a complete 180. I can't stand the man, but that's my own personal problem. But I went there. I was going there. Well, and this was coming up in the future. This professor said, your assignment is to write a story that an assassin shoots and kills George W. Bush at the Republican National Convention in New York City this year. And this was like a month before the event. And he had been facing multiple assassination threats. In fact, they had arrested a guy, like maybe not even the week before, who had been plotting to hurt him, to harm him in some way. And I argued with her. I sent her an email. I said, I'm really uncomfortable with this. I don't understand why you wouldn't assign us the attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan or something, or the assassination of JFK that has already happened. Like, I feel this is dangerous territory. This is like fantasy of assassinating a sitting president. And I think it's inappropriate. And I don't think the Secret Service would appreciate it. And she disagreed. She said, if you don't want to do it, I don't remember what exactly she said. She said something like, I don't even remember. I think she said that I could do something else, but I thought, but you're still having an entire class of kids write about this, and it's totally inappropriate. And you're not telling them that you can't do stuff like this. Like, you shouldn't. In fact, at the time, somebody had written like a play or a screenplay about the assassinating George W. Bush in like a myriad of ways. It was like 100 ways to kill him. Wow. And the atmosphere, the political atmosphere was just really bad at the time. And I just thought, this is awful. So I called Rush Limbaugh during one of his shows, and I got through. I couldn't believe I got through. I didn't have a special line or anything. And I only met the guy twice, but I happened to get through. And I told Bo Snerdley the story, and he was like, okay, hold on, he's got to hear this. So he put me through. I told him about the assignment, and I said, I really don't. And my professor happened to be also a producer on Meet the Press. So, she was somebody who was, a mover in the industry.
Some influence,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. And I told him, and he was so funny. After the break, after he let me go, he comes back after the break and he goes, Megan, I know what you need to do. I know what you need to do. This is what you're going to do. You're going to write the article, but here's what's going to happen in your story. Yes. And as George W. Bush is walking out of the RNC, an assassin aims a gun, shoots and fires, but misses George W. Bush. And Secret Service returns fire, killing the assassin. On later inspection, the assassin is found to be your professor, and she's holding a copy of Al Gore's Earth in the Balance.
Oh no.
You know that book he wrote about the world burning?
Yes.
In 10 years? That's 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been 20 or 30 by now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So good.
I didn't get a chance to write it. The very next day, this woman emails me and she says, I heard you. I heard it. I heard the whole thing. And you need to take a class on ethics. I was like, oh, I do? Oh, I need to take a class on ethics?
Wow.
My journalism professor, Miss Free Speech herself, says I should take a course on journalism ethics. You don't like that your assignment is now national news? I'm sorry, but yeah,
Right.
Get bent.
Right.
Thank you, JD Buck. Exactly. Dear professor, get bent. And I dropped out. I said, I don't need this. I don't need this shit. Like, I know I have perfectly good ethics. And if you're so proud of your assignment, then you should be happy that now everybody knows about it. But apparently she was embarrassed by it.
Well, she should be. I think, personally.
Should have been. Well, I don't think that it's appropriate to be fantasizing about the death of any sitting president. I think that's gross. And I don't care what party they're with. It wouldn't be appropriate to do that about Barack Obama. And it's inappropriate to do it about a Republican president, too. And
Sure.
Our professors in colleges ought to be better than that.
Right. I agree, especially if you're teaching journalism.
JD Buck, screw you guys. I'm going home. Megan, probably. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so you always knew you were going to be a journalist, or you always wanted to be a journalist?
I don't know if that's true. I actually never knew what I wanted to be. Even when I was working at WLS, I remember talking to one of the sales girls there, nice girl that I liked a lot. We used to have lunch together, and she was older than me, and she asked me, "What do you want to be? What do you want to do?" And I was like, well, I don't know. I love singing. I love broadcasting, and I love writing. I kind of want to do all of them. And she was like, well, you have to pick something. And I'm like, well, do I? Do I have to pick?
Right.
But it turned out that I eventually ended up doing most of those things. I broadcast now. I write. I've been a writer for a long time, and I do still sing. I did a lot of that when the kids were younger. I sang in church bands, and I sang in. I've kept up my singing for maybe not lately, but I did for many years. I sang in wedding bands. I sang with orchestras. So I did it all pretty much. But I'm more of it. So my career kind of went from writing all the time, and writing was my main source of income, to having a problem with my neck and typing and my wrists that made it impossible for me to continue that kind of schedule.
Right.
Because when I was writing 4 or 5 articles a day, which is a lot of time in front of the computer and a lot of time on the keyboard. And I hurt something somehow. And it was, I think, 2 things, really. I think a couple of things played into it. Many of the stories I was covering, as you guys know, that I covered a lot of family court cases and family court corruption, including child protective services corruption, medical kidnappings, child abuse stories. These are all very, very dark stories. They are very hard to take. And I spent at least 10 years doing that type of investigative work, which sucked. it mentally and emotionally it was so draining. And so I often say I got like contact PTSD from the close interaction with me and these families that were going through these really, really dark times, including the worst types of abuse you can imagine. And people and a system that didn't care, and a system that wouldn't follow their own rules, and a system that would ignore the evidence right in front of them on the ones that were absolutely happening and you could see the evidence. And then in the ones where it wasn't happening, they would take the kids. And it's like they would leave the ones who were being abused in these situations and then take them from perfectly, good parents. And the constant barrage of these stories, and believe me, my inbox was never empty. It was one after the other after the other. And I felt obligated to tell these stories because no journalists want to tell them. And now I know why. It's like signing up for being a homicide detective without being prepared for walking into a murder scene. And then you're walking into that murder scene every day. But justice never comes. Justice is never had for these people. And I feel like I did my time. And what happened was I had to come to a place where, because this is where it all like crescendoed, I became injured. I was in rehab therapy, like, what do they call it? PT all the time. I was getting shots for pain in my neck and pain in my arms. And I believe it might have been my physical therapist who asked me about what is it that I do. And I told her, and I couldn't even tell her without breaking down. And she was like, I think you need to stop this or take a break, And I did, and I got better, and I'm not completely better as far as my neck issues go. I still there's like a physical underlying thing from years and years in front of a computer. But I have turned more to broadcasting on YouTube and building my channel because I'm not doing the repetitive movements. It doesn't require the repetitive movements on the keyboard. And so that helps. That helps a lot. But when I face criticism for not doing the type of work I used to do, and for doing more work that's focused more on maybe entertainment or on lighter topics, I say, F off. I spent years in the trenches in hell, and there's only so much of it you can take. And also, I had to weigh the pros and cons, right? I had to ask myself, how many of these families that you did all this intensive work with actually gained anything positive because of it? I came up with one positive outcome in a court case. Now, the other people who I've covered their stories, they would totally be jumping up and down and screaming no right now because they believe that I helped them mentally. Like it helped to have somebody on their side who believed them.
Right, a team player.
But they didn't get their kids back. And in fact, they got retaliated against by judges just for going to the press. So in my opinion, that wasn't worth the type of stress that I was under.
Yeah.
Because nothing wonderful ever happened except for this one man, the Burkhart case. In the Burkhart case, in the father that I covered his case, he actually did get his kids returned to him. Well, not returned. He always had custody of them, but their mother came back into their life after abandoning them when they were very little and for a life of drugs. And she was demanding to have visitation, and they're teenagers. And these psychologists were basically abusing the children to make them have a relationship with this woman that they had no connection to. And yeah, it was insane. And you should read anybody who wants to hear about that. It's on PJ Media. It's the Burkhart case, and it's maddening, but also he won that case. And I think that I did help in that case by exposing who these doctors were and what they were doing and how they were abusing his children for money. They were taking money. I mean, it was disgusting. And the guardian ad litem in the case was out of her mind. But that was the only one that I can point to and say that was a decisive win. And for me, I have to have more winning than that. I have to win more than that. Even the
Right.
one, even in St. Louis, where 31 judges had to recuse themselves off of a case because of my reporting, even that wasn't a decisive victory because the woman whose case they had to step off of went to the higher court and they threw it out and gave everybody immunity. So it never went anywhere, and none of them paid a price. Yeah, the head judge had to step down in disgrace, but other than that, it really wasn't a victory. There's still so much corruption. I just got an email yesterday. I am thinking about reporting it because it's outrageous, of another man going through this. He's a lawyer in Missouri going through this with his own children, and he is naming a bunch of people I know are involved in this corruption from years ago. And I'm like, I can't believe this is still going on. We went to the House of Representatives in Springfield in Missouri. We talked to I brought these families there. We talked to lawmakers, senators. We talked to all of them. They all knew. And they sat there and they said, Rosalind, well, about these judges, these corrupt judges who were like clearly in bed and in cahoots with these court appointed people. They would go, well, we don't really know what we can do about it. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I said Springfield. Yes, it's Jefferson City. You're right. I'm like, you can impeach them. Start impeachment proceedings. You are the House of Representatives and you have authority over the judiciary for oversight, but you never use it. And they literally looked at me like I had grown a second head. And one of them a senator is like, I don't think we've ever done that before, Bob. Have we ever? No, no, we've never done that before. I'm like, well, read the Constitution, because the Constitution of Missouri says that you are the one who are supposed to be in the oversight. Well, we're not supposed to step into their jurisdiction. And what? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And they're just not willing to do their job. They know what's happening, but they're not. And I couldn't spend one more second in it. I just couldn't, Rosalind. I couldn't. So I started, and I've heard some criticism about this from a certain idiot who likes to say, oh, she started covering Sex in the City instead. I did. Yeah. Fuck off.
So what?
Yeah,
so what?
I started covering that ridiculous reboot, and I had a huge audience growth out of that. I had a huge growth on my channel, grew like crazy when I started.
More people hating it.
But it wasn't just that. It was an important story. And here's why it was an important story, because the woke crap in our culture was out of control when that came out, the very first season of And Just Like That. It was like the peak of the ridiculous woke culture that everybody hates. And it was a great story. And I covered it on PJ Media extensively. Oh, and the way I got over there was Horowitz shut down his website. And then my editor went over to PJ Media and took me with him. And then I'd been there ever since. And I have there are incredible people over there. pjmedia.com. If you guys aren't familiar with it and you like conservative thought or politics, you should go and check it out over there. I don't write as much as I used to because I really do have a difficulty spending the amount of time in front of the keyboard that I need to write the way that I do. And I don't write fast. It takes me a long time. It takes hours for me to write one article. And so I have to be careful how much I do that. Luckily, they haven't fired me yet, even though I don't turn in very much stuff anymore. But it's it's wonderful. It's a wonderful place. And my editor is so wonderful. I love her so much. Paula Bulliard is absolutely one of the greatest women I know. And she's just wonderful. And she writes great, and she's just my favorite editor ever. And I love having an editor, by the way. We've been joking about Substack.
Yeah.
and I had a Substack for a while, and I hated writing on it because I don't have an editor, to go over my
the feedback.
I love having an editor. It's one of the things that makes writing for me a joy, is to have somebody to bounce off of and somebody to give you their thoughts on it. And my editor is always so great. She gets my sense of humor so well that she can edit me better than anybody else I know, because she never takes out my jokes. I've had editors before who would edit out my jokes, and I would get so
my jokes.
I would get so pissed. Like when she would go on vacation, I'd be like, "Oh no, don't," because so and so is going to take out my jokes, and I'm like, "Tell him not to do that," you know. And she would
Not the
laugh.
jokes.
The jokes. That's what makes it good. That's what makes it different. Um,
Right.
Imagine someone editing out your jokes. I mean, but the Substack thing is funny because it's true. Anybody can be anybody can call themselves a journalist and have a Substack. Laura Owens has a Medium, which is exactly the same as Substack.
Right.
Is she a journalist? No, she's a liar with a keyboard. And is
She writes
anybody
fiction.
checking? Yeah, she writes fiction. Is anybody checking her work? No. So I do think that in order to be a serious journalist, to be a respected journalist, you should have an editor. You should absolutely have an editor. You should not be the only person looking at your work. You should not be the only person double checking your work. My editors have found errors before that I would have been horrified if they had gone out.
Right.
Like one of my editors one time found that I had been writing about a fake story. They figured it, and I was like, "Oh my God, that would have been so embarrassing. I fell for fake news." These are things you need an editor for. You
Sure.
do, and I think that's one way to tell who's a journalist, who's a real journalist. You need an editor.
Yeah. Are you saying I need an editor for my Substack?
No. No, because you don't claim to be a journalist. You're doing like a blog, and bloggers don't need to have an editor. But if you're going to do investigative work that needs fact checking, and you need that, you need an editor for sure.
Sure. We're going to move on. How would you describe your childhood in 5 words or less?
Idyllic.
Explain.
My parents are great people. And my mother was like, I describe her like Mary Poppins as a mom. And she was always in the kitchen making something wonderful. She was always home when I came home. And she just always wanted to be a mom. But my mom is other things too. She's incredibly smart. She went to law school when she was 50 because she had invented something and she didn't want to get screwed when she tried to sell it, and she wanted to understand contracts. So she went to law school when she was 50 years old. She graduated as valedictorian and gave the speech, and she won.
Gosh.
Oh yeah. And she won an award, and they flew her to Washington, D.C. to accept that one. That's how smart my mom is.
Aww.
But at the same time, my mom, I don't know, she could do everything. She made all our clothes. She made bread. She's just this amazing person who is the best mom in the world. And all the things that she could do, she was the best at being a mom. And she is. She's not gone. I don't know why I'm saying was. My mother is the best mother in the world. She's like a storybook character. And I don't know how she has this. Oh, you want to know what she invented? Oh, this is so great.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the coolest thing. And of course, my mother would invent this. But unfortunately, it was stolen from her by her partners. So she got partners to help her who were engineers to build the thing. And they eventually cheated her out of the company. But the good news is they never made any money on it because they didn't market it properly. And that's what they get. This thing is great. I used it for my son. It's called the Peter Potty. I'm trying to get it's a toddler urinal. And here's what's hilarious is that it's a training urinal. She didn't have, because it's hard for little boys, to hit the toilet, to reach the toilet. And she didn't have any sons. This is the funny thing about it, my mom, and being such a good mom, is that she didn't have any sons, but she just knew that this was a difficulty and it was something that she wanted to fix. And it was all the entire setup. It's flushable. The entire setup was her idea. She dreamed it, and then she built it.
Wow.
And she found it. And here's the thing: at that tank on the top, that's a blue tank, and you lift it out and fill it with water. And he's got his little hands over the button, but there's a flush button up there, and the drawer pulls out, and you dump it into the toilet.
Wow.
This thing works great. I used it. She had a couple of them, so when I had a son, she sent me one. And he loved it. It made him feel so grown up to be able to.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, and that kind of prototype is not easy to launch. I mean, that's a lot of work.
And she went to law school in order to do it. I mean, and it's really sad that her partners ended up like stealing the company from her. But my mom's a woman of faith, and she said, from the moment that happened, she said, they will never, she prayed and she said, God's already told me they won't make a dime because they took it wrongfully. They took it from me wrongfully. And it was all her idea. All she did was get a couple of guys to buy in who were engineers who could build it. And the entire schematics, everything, she has the original drawings. Everything she drew, that's how they built it. And it worked because she's that brilliant. She's invented other things too. The other thing she invented is so funny. It's not really an invention because she never really went forward with it. It was just one of her ideas. I wonder if she'd be embarrassed. She wouldn't be embarrassed if I told this because she was going to sell it. She wanted to sell it. But this might tell you something about my mom. She had this idea of underwear, ladies' underwear, with a pocket in it for the condom. Apparently, she was sick and tired of digging around in a drawer. So you were just always prepared, I guess.
That's awesome. I love her.
I know. No, it wasn't mentholated, Kevin. No menthol involved. Cargo panties. Yes, J.K. Day said cargo panties.
Oh my
gosh.
Now
you know why my parents have been married for like 50 years.
Thank you, Vice Baby, for becoming a member. An island for a month or 2 months. Look at that. Thank you, Just J Hip, for the super chat. Glad to see you gals on one stream. This is perfect. Love you both. Love you back.
We love you too.
Debbie Baker, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships. So sweet. Slug Entertainment. Oh God. Question Megan's harvesting practices of the
Hashtag my homos have never complained.
That's right. Never. That's right. Let's see. We've got your mom. Thank you so much for the $30. Now you know Megan Fox Ryder. She doesn't give up. She will follow up until the end and is all about truth and justice. I love that.
Well, I try. I definitely try. And I definitely I like to look for stories that that interest me, that there's an element of injustice. It's definitely a theme because I really dislike injustice. Injustice really bothers me. And I want to see people get justice. So that's true. That's true.
Thank you so much, L Rocking Lou. You added in middle name. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. So idyllic, because of your mother, and she was smart. So what else about your childhood was idyllic?
Well, we just, my dad was, he was gone a lot. He worked a lot. He was an entrepreneur. He owned businesses. And so my childhood, I remember most of my memories of him were sleeping on the couch. He was asleep because he would be sleeping when he worked really long hours. And so my mom was really a very involved parent, and she was the one. In fact, we would even go on vacations without him. Poor man. He was always working. And that's something really great about my dad, is that he has the best work ethic I've ever seen. And he had a restaurant. He used to sleep on the bar. He wouldn't come home sometimes because he was just, it was too, you can't leave your business. And my dad was a great businessman because he knew that. He knew he could not leave his business in the hands of somebody who didn't own it. And when we were very little, he had a grocery store. He had many businesses. He had a restaurant and bar. He had a grocery store, a dry cleaners. He owned a building that had like a strip mall. Mm-hmm. And on one end, he had his grocery store called Buzz In, Buzz Out. Great name. Love that. And then there was like a dry cleaners, and he owned the dry cleaners at one point, and then he sold it. And then we had a mail shop. I worked in all of these places. So we had like right. Almost like a UPS store, but it was just a mail, like you have mailboxes. Sure. There was an ice cream shop that we opened when I was 19. My dad and I opened it together, and we ran it together. It was basically mine, so he would leave me in charge of it. But I was we called it Susie's because my grandfather used to call all of his granddaughters Susie. None of us are named Susie. This is just something he would say. He would just
I
call us.
actually answer to Susie because there's so many Susies in my family. So like I just
That's
answer
funny.
to it.
We don't even have any Susies, but it was like an old people thing that they would call girls Susie. Hey, Susie, what's going on, Susie? You know, I don't know. He just did this, and so we thought it was funny, and we named it Susie's. And it was like a grill and ice cream shop. I ran that for a couple years till we sold it. But when we were from the time my sisters and I were very little, we were working in my dad's businesses. So I went to school right down the street from his store. And this is a great memory. I went to a private Christian school right down the street, like within walking distance from his store. And after school, I was probably only 6 or 7 years old. I would walk down to the store, and then he would put me to work dusting cans. I remember I would dust cans on the shelves, cans of baked beans or whatever. And then I would mop the floors, and he would have me stock stuff in the back. From the time I was 5, I was working in that store. And then by the time I was 12, he made me a manager of his video department. We had before Blockbuster existed, we had a video rental area.
I love those little shops.
We had a video, and I was managing it. And I remember he let me fire this girl that I really didn't like because she was nasty to me. And I told him, I said, Dad, I don't want her here anymore. She doesn't do good work, and she's always talking back, and she doesn't listen to me. And I know more than her, but I'm 12, so she's 17. And he said, well, if you don't want her here, you have to fire her. And I was like, what? No, you need to do that. You should do that. And he goes, well, aren't you the manager? And I was like, I'm Mr. Manager? Oh, no. So I did. I fired her. I tried to anyway. And she laughed at me. I said, no, you're fired.
You really are.
Like, I'm not fired. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to get my dad. And he was like, get your stuff and get out. So yeah, she didn't believe me. And then we had a pizza place. In the same store, amazing. My dad hired this amazing chef. So we used to get to, he would make us stuff after hours. It was so good. Mario was a great chef. And he would make pizza, and I delivered pizza for them for a while. I've had every job there is because my dad would employ me.
Right.
And
right.
He was the kind of guy, and he is the kind of guy. I love him dearly. Everything for him is about your work ethic. If you are not working, you are a bum, and you will not get any quarter from him. I was home from college for 1 week when I had dropped out. My dad had a heart attack, which kind of precipitated my dropout. I wasn't doing well anyway. I knew that I was going to get found out as soon as grades came out that I had like a 1.7 grade point average. It was bad because I didn't show up to any of my classes. And then my dad had a heart attack, and I was like, that's it. I'm out. I'm going home. And so I left, and I went home. And that's when I went to work for him full time. But it was funny because I was at home, and my parents had a pool, and I was out on the deck chair. I was out there. It was summertime. I'm out there. I'm like tanning. I'd only been home from 1 week, and I'm laying there, and this shadow falls over me, and I hear Megan, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, what's up? He goes, get off your ass and get a job. And if you don't, he goes, you have 1 week. You can come work for me. You can go work for somebody else, but you get up and get a job or you're out of here. And he turned around and walked away. I was like, yeah, break's over. Back to work. Back to work we go. I was like, yes, Daddy. Yep.
I guess I'll get a job.
I'll get a job. And then that's when we decided to open the ice cream shop. And oh my God, you talk about hard work. Oh my God, I was sleeping there too. It was awful. I worked
at an ice cream place in high school, and it just the smell of mildew all the time. It's like, oh God, why do you want to eat that? It smells so bad back here.
Did you ever have to clean the soft serve machine?
We didn't have soft serve. We didn't have that. It was just all scoops.
Okay. No, the worst is the soft serve machine. Oh, Jesus. I will never eat soft serve ever again because I don't know how these people clean it. I know how I cleaned it because I was trained that we had to clean it every night. And I'm sure people don't do this because let me tell you what, it's 1,000 parts and like 500 O-rings. And you have to clean them all, sanitize them all, and then you have to put them back together with this lubrication thing. You know, this stuff, it is messy. It stinks. When you run the fluid through to clean it smells like rotten milk. And I will never eat soft serve ever in my whole life because if those machines are not cleaned every night, like very, very well, you are eating spoiled, rotten milk. Oh, JKD Buck, he did that, or yep. Anybody who's cleaned one, you'll never eat soft serve again, ever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just always stunk. And just like you'd have to defrost the freezers, and it was just, oh, yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
But and another thing was what was idyllic about it was that I got to live, my mother's family is from Hawaii. And every summer she would take us to visit her family. And so I spent my summers in Hawaii. And as a child, I didn't know. I had no clue that that was something that people don't get to do and that some people never get there, or it's a once in a lifetime thing. And I grew up there. I know Hawaii. I know Oahu like the back of my hand. I eventually bought a place there. My husband and I bought a place and we were going to move there. And then I got pregnant and he got a job in Chicago and we were just like, oh crap, now what do we do? And so we rented it out. But that was another idyllic part of my childhood, was all of the time I got to spend in Hawaii with my incredible family there. And I have amazing family members. My family is just amazing. And I'm so blessed because we all love each other very much. And everybody, for the most part, gets along. We don't have the kind of dysfunction that, you know, I run into in my family court cases and all the divorces, and the only people divorced in my family were our grandparents. Everybody else stayed together until I think I have one aunt that got a divorce like 30 years on. That was really unusual, but everybody else stayed together and we had all these very intact, loving families. And it's really sad when you see the kinds of heartache and sadness that comes with divorce and custody. And we never had to face any of that. And so, you know, I guess I hope, I've been married for 25 years now. So I think we're doing okay. We still like each other. So we're doing
really. That's all that matters.
You know, I feel like we've had this conversation before, that even if we ever were gonna get divorced for some unforeseen reason, like we would behave like people who loved our children, you know, instead of trying to hurt one another. Because
that's probably why you stay together, because you're that kind of person. you know, like I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. Civil-headed, but like these people who use their children to hurt one another, I just will never understand it. I won't. How can you look your child in the face? How can you look that child in the face who you know loves both of you? You know it, and can't live without either one of you, and yet you keep that child away from one parent. That's sick. That has to stop. Or you use that, or you try to turn that kid against the other one. It's just disgusting, and there's no excuse for it unless this person is an abuser, like a flat out real abuser. There's no excuse for that. Just grow up. You know, don't have children with someone you don't intend to keep in their lives forever. It's just irresponsible. And I've seen it hurt so many people and so many lives. Yeah. It's pretty rough. What's the most absurd thing you've ever had to ask somebody with a straight face? Most absurd thing. I feel like this might have happened recently. What were we just laughing about? Weren't we just laughing about that? Weren't you and I just laughing about something like that? Well, I mean, wasn't that you got to fire somebody as a 12-year-old, but that's pretty absurd. That's pretty absurd. Ask someone. I don't know. You've stumped me. I've had to ask some very absurd things, but I can't think of anything currently. Well, one of them. All right. One of the most absurd things I've ever had to ask anybody would be David Gingras. I had to ask him
I emailed him to ask him his permission to report, and this was so stupid. I could have done it anyway, and he knows that. But I had to ask him his permission to cover his stupid YouTube broadcast without him threatening me with a lawsuit. Of course, I didn't have to ask him. I just did because he's such a dick. And then I bet he regrets to this day saying yes to me, because then he was never able to say no or rescind it, because I was like, oh, great. He said, yes, I can do it. And I was like, he said I could. I have it in writing. Right. So I'm doing it.
It's pretty ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous.
If you were a news headline, how would it read?
Oh, no, I've been a news headline.
Oh, yeah?
I have been a news headline, and I was not pleased. I was not pleased. In fact, yeah. Okay, so this is crazy. So one of the big stories that I worked on, I wrote a book about, Shut Up, the Bizarre War That One Public Library Waged Against the First Amendment. I was in the news a lot. And the news really wanted to paint me like a super far-right religious nut that did not want free speech happening in a lot. And I'm like, free speech? We're talking about guys jerking it in front of kids at the library to corn. You know, you don't need to be far right or religious or any of those things. And yet they painted me, they wrote about me, they lied about me in the press multiple times. And they would also, I learned a very big lesson. Never, ever do an edited interview with the news. Don't ever let them interview you unless it's live. On every edited interview they did of me, I looked ridiculous because they would leave everything out that was important. They would pull something stupid or out of context and make me look dumb. When I did live interviews, I destroyed them. And there was no contest. They couldn't do it live. They could not do that to me live. I got retractions in at least two papers. I forced retractions. And of course they put them on the back page. I forced one guy to actually have to write an apology column. You got to read the book, you guys. The book is great. The book is funny. And there was a guy who wrote at this Orland Park paper. He called himself the king of journalism. Well, he's the one who had to apologize to me in print. the king of journalism. He used to hide under his desk when I would come by to question him about what the hell he was writing. I mean, these people, the way the media treats you in the news, you pray to God you are never a headline, because trust me, you will not like it. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I doubt it. You know, it's like you don't get to pick when you become a meme.
Right. Well, and one time I was in the news for another thing that was just really silly. I was trolling. I got in the news for trolling, and I was trolling atheists because atheists are annoying. Atheists are super annoying. You know, they get really butthurt about everything. And so I went to the Field Museum, and I do have a pet peeve about museums in general, because they present their theories about how life started as fact, and they even make movies about it, and they're like, this happened this many billion years ago, and you're like, well, maybe, or I don't know, there's other. You don't know. And like the Cambrian explosion doesn't really make sense when you're talking about this really slow evolutionary process, and but they just pretend that they know it all. And I get annoyed by that. And I knew that if I made a video like this and I put it on YouTube, it would drive the atheists nuts. So I walked around with my bleach blonde hair. I walked around the Field Museum in Chicago, and I was like, I don't get it. I don't get this is stupid. How do they know? You know, and I was playing it up, you know, how do they know? I mean, a Buick needs a designer. You're telling me that a human being doesn't? You know, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions here about how, I don't think that this Neanderthal looking person, I saw a guy who looked like this a week ago. You know, these people the big foreheads, and you know how they're always like, it's a different type of human species. You're like, well, not really. I see guys that look like this all the time. I knew it would trigger
a little bit.
That video got over 1 million views, and it went, and Channel 9 WGN was calling me for an interview, and I was like, are they kidding? Are they nuts? Like, I'm trolling atheists, and they are And then I went to the Creation Museum and I did the same thing. And I was like, well, they have a movie here too. I don't know if it's true. But like, look at all these. They're like, they're sure that it happened this way. And I'm
Right.
like, maybe
Maybe.
not. Maybe. But like, this is kind of stupid too, you know? Like, and I went to like a bunch of different museums and God, they thought I was being completely serious and they took it completely seriously. And it was crazy. I got death threats. I had atheists writing
geez.
me, telling me that my children should get ARPed, that
Oh, no.
oh yeah, that I should be murdered with a baseball bat, all for a comedic video. It ended up, I did an interview, a sit-down interview with Hemant Mehta. He calls himself the friendly atheist. Nice guy. I mean, he is. He actually took it as an opportunity to be like, hey, you guys are behaving really badly. I'm sure we could talk to her. Like, could we just have a conversation? Because you
Right.
guys are acting like you want her murdered. That's
Right.
crazy. Maybe
Right.
she's wrong, but can we not do this? And then he wanted to talk to me about the Orland Park Library thing because it all happened at the same time. And then we also kind of talked about the museum. And we did. We went to the Orland Park Library. We got one of their rooms there. They have like a study room, and we set up and we did a several part interview, and it was good. But it was like, it was a good. And then it all kind of calmed down. Like after, you know, they kind of maybe they realized, hey, this is maybe we're overboard. You know, I basically, my whole point in doing that was I really like the intelligent design guys. I just find it really fascinating. I don't know if you've ever looked into intelligent design theory, but I love it. I think it's interesting. I find it interesting, and I find the people who study it interesting. And there are some very smart people who've written really cool books about the possibility of intelligence being behind creation, or not behind the world, behind life. Which of course makes more sense to me than random chaos, because I don't think you can get order out of chaos. I don't think that happens. But that's just me. And lots of people believe that. But if you say that you think evolution might not be, or the type that we say is what happened, it might not be the entire answer, you get smeared as a 6,000-year creationist. I have never said that. Ever. In fact, like I said, I went to the Creation Museum and I was like, I don't know. But they've got it's like the same kind of thing. They're just telling you, well, it was this way. And you're like, well, that doesn't really make sense either.
Right.
You're not allowed to question these things. But the news,
I don't think Jesus was around with the dinosaurs. I mean, I just don't.
I think there might, I think there might have been, and I do think there's some evidence to show that there were some very maybe larger creatures that we don't have anymore, like the you know, when there were like massive snakes and stuff, like really, really big.
I want to think about that.
I know, right? Well, think about the story of St. George and the Dragon. Okay,
Sure.
St. George is the patron saint of England. This is a story that has persisted for thousands of years. That St. George got his sainthood because he rescued this village from this beast, this thing. Now they portray it in the artwork as a dragon, but maybe it was one of these giant lizards that went extinct later. I don't know. Maybe it was one of those really giant snakes that went extinct later. There were definitely things though that we don't know because we weren't there. And it's weird when you look at artwork, like in China or whatever, the dragon is the only thing on their entire thing of animals that is the one mythical beast. How could it be mythical? Like how does that make any sense? There had to have been something that people saw, and they always go, well, it was bones. Well, maybe, or maybe a couple of them survived and then like died out or were killed because you know, humans and these giant things can't live together. I mean, there's lots of things.
The similarities between all the stories are just one of the things that I think propels it too. You know, because you get it from all over. I mean, all cultures have dragons of some sort. I mean, it's very fascinating.
Have you seen? We got to pull this up. You will love this. Have you seen the dinosaur head that they found? I don't know where they found it. Let's pull it up. It is. I've actually been to the museum that has this thing, and it is so freaking cool looking. The skull will astound you. Here we go. This is called. They named it, and this is so funny. They named it Dracorix Hogwartsia, and that means dragon of Hogwarts. Here is a dinosaur. And when you go, that looks exactly like a dragon. Look at the horns on the head. Look at the horns on the face. And when you say, I was actually in the museum where they were showing my children the skull, and I went, look, kids, it looks exactly like a dragon. The woman showing them the skull goes, oh, no, 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 no. That's a dinosaur. I was like, no shit, lady. But don't you see? And then wait, this was like in 2018. Who was just trending on Twitter because he was like, I think dragons existed? Joe fucking Rogan. Okay. I was ahead of my time. No one wanted to listen to me back then when I was like, I think dragons might be real. I think dragons and dragon dinosaur is interchangeable. And and there was actually a book that I bought at the Creation Museum. I love it. I have it on my shelf right now. It's so cool. It has all the dragon myths, and it's like a storybook and there's like Marco Polo's journal entries are in it. And Marco Polo, so they talk about Marco Polo's journal. He wrote about all the different animals that he saw on his travels. Well, he also wrote about being in China and seeing flying lizards. Now, was he high? Or like you believe all these other stories he told about seeing elephants and about seeing all these things, but you don't believe the one story that he told about seeing flying lizards? Well, maybe they were like a relative of the pterodactyl, a smaller version, and they got killed off too. I mean, who knows? All we have are the writings of these Metho. JKD Buck, you're killing me today. Metho Polo.
I missed it. Quit scrolling. Here we go.
Metho Polo. So, I mean, it's just, to me, the lack of curiosity, that when you are curious, no matter what it's about, there's always going to be those people who want to degrade you and mock you and tear you down, because I think it scares them. It scares them if there isn't an answer, if there isn't a solid answer. And I don't believe in solid answers. I believe that in possibilities, and I like to think about fantastic things. And I think that's okay. And I don't think people ought to be threatened with death or for saying, I'm not sure that you scientists know what you're talking about all the time. And didn't we learn that? Didn't we learn that quite clearly in 2020, that the science is not settled? And I'm sick and tired of hearing people tell me that. I'm so sick of it. And we should be able to say, maybe what we think we know isn't what we know.
Right. No, I always ask questions. That's kind of who I am. I'm like, but what if, or prove it, I'm big on prove it. Show me. There's a few, like the moon was created because an asteroid shot through the center of the earth, and that's why we have the moon. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
My favorite. So what wasn't there? There was a documentary that was done with the guy that was in Ferris Bueller, that guy.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about.
It was about intelligent design, and he interviews these evolutionists, and one of the most convoluted explanations for life on Earth was one of these guys. And he's like some big scientist, and he's going, well, it's crystals on the backs of rocks and the interviewer's going, wait, I'm sorry, crystals on the backs of rocks? Ben Stein, thank you. And Ben's like, crystals on the backs of rocks doing what? Like doing what? Crystals on the backs of rocks doing what? Led to life, all life on. I mean, you're not listening. These crystals, and it sounds like a madman. You're like, okay, is Atlas also standing on a turtle holding up the world? You guys have to watch that documentary. It's called, Expelled. It's called Expelled. And you know what led to my video went really viral, and it led to the Intelligent Design Society sending me an entire box of books and videos and all their stuff. And I was like, that is so cool. I'm so excited about this because, and I have never gotten to read all of them. Unfortunately, they're all on my bookshelf. But I find it fascinating. And I think that people really they confuse intelligent design with creationism, and it's not the same at all. It's not even close.
We're hitting your 1 hour mark. Do you still have time?
I do. I have nothing going on.
Okay.
Do you have more stuff you want to ask?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's see. You've been on YouTube for 16 years. Did you immediately start your channel? I mean, because I know sometimes that number isn't really so much about your channel. It's like when you joined YouTube. Did you start your channel right away?
I think I started posting about 14 years ago.
Okay.
So I think I had my 14th anniversary of posting recently. So yeah, I think I must have joined to watch or something.
Sure.
I don't remember what my first video was.
Who inspired you to start your channel?
Well, it was the Orland Park Library situation.
Okay.
Because we were filming the board meetings when I had complained about the board, what the library had done.
Mm-hmm.
And I was filming those, and we needed a place to put them. So I put them on I started my YouTube channel, and for years it was always it was just board meetings, like basically really boring board meetings, me talking to them, trying to talk sense into them. Some of them got exciting. They called the cops on me a couple times while I was 8 months pregnant. Like, yeah, I'm a real threat to you, you know? Yeah. Okay. And then I was covering local news stories. So I would interview people. I interviewed some authors that I was in an authors group, and I had a bunch of friends who were writing books that I wanted to get out there to people. And so I would interview them because it was alternative. It was a conservative and libertarian authors group. And again, there was that like this woke culture in publishing where they couldn't get published at any normal publisher. They were only taking stories from like very far left woke stuff. And so they created their own like publishing companies. And I started, reading their books and reviewing them and like interviewing them. I also did it was connected to the library, but I did a review series about, this is funny. I would go to as a mom, I'm concerned about the stuff my kids read. I do not believe that it doesn't matter what they read as long as they're reading. I'm not one of those people.
No.
I think you garbage in, garbage out. You must read good books. You must read good literature. You must read Western literature, especially if you're a Western person. You need to know the Western literature and read them. And not that you can't read other things, but that's why we read the classics. That's why, because we have to understand where we come from and what makes America America. What makes, you have to understand your culture. So and there became this very big push to push out Western literature and push in this highly anti-Western woke garbage onto children. And they were hiding it in these youth books, and they were putting all this gross stuff in there, like for 10-year-olds to read about blowjobs. And you've seen it. You've seen all this stuff, people going to board meetings. Well, before that happened, I was on that story way before. Like, that nobody knew about it when I was doing these. I would go to the library. I would film. My friend Kevin would film me in the youth section. I would close my eyes and I would run my hand along the books. I would grab stuff and I wouldn't look. I would just grab stuff. And then we'd go sit down and I would start paging through. And it wouldn't take me 10 seconds before I would find drugs, alcohol, sex, horrible language. And Bruce from Oregon, but kids need to know BJ's can give them twins. I mean, it was horrible. And the majority of the books in the youth section, the majority of them were full of this stuff. And so as a mom trying to find books that would interest my kids and would, encourage them to read, but weren't like morally corrupt, was very hard. And I don't know what it is about people, about the left, that really wants to drag little kids into this early sexuality. And it's really disturbing to me. It isn't that conservative moms like me or other people or libertarian or whatever. It's not like we are saying we never want our children to know about these things. It's just that there's a time and a place, and this is neither the time nor the place. It's not your place as an author to be introducing these concepts and things that I consider dangerous to my kids. I consider that risky behavior. I consider it dangerous to children to be involved in any kind of sexuality, not to mention if you are, that is grooming behavior to be telling 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and trying to titillate them with these things. And that opens them up to being abused by some adult, some gross adult. And I'm sorry, let children be children. You only have a short time to be a child, and you are not concerned about these things. My daughter explains it to me perfectly. She misses being little. And one of the things she misses about it is she says things to me like, I didn't care about what anybody thought about me or what I was wearing or how I looked. And I could just, all I cared about that day was what games will I play with my sister? What fun will we have today? What adventures will we have outside? And that's what children should be focused on. And when they become teenagers and they're thrown into this, now they're so body conscious and they have all these other, that being a teenager is so hard. Maybe then it becomes a little more important for them to have some of this stuff. But the way it's being done is gross. It's gross. And you guys have all seen it. I don't need to give you examples. You've seen it. But I did a lot of that on my channel. I read excerpts from these things that were best-selling youth books, geared towards 10-year-olds and sometimes younger. And, for the most part, I got criticized for it. It was completely criticized for it. Nobody wanted to hear it back then. Now, then, a few years ago, it's become a major uprising and parents have finally had enough. But at the time I was being called a prude and why are you so anti-sex? And it's like, that's not it at all. I just want my children to have a childhood, and I don't want their minds to be ARPed at the public library when they weren't ready for it. This is a thing no child should have to come across if they've never even encountered such topics. And the next thing, and they're being given these fully graphic, like OnlyFans kind of material. Like what?
Right. Well, I've got a clip of the moment that I decided to start following you.
Oh no! Oh God, I can't wait.
Oh no. Why keep doing it? Why not just go to a bookstore and wander around and see if you run into someone hot?
Nick knew
What
I was in
Elliot
trouble.
Roger did.
Megan, why would he go to a bookstore and try to run into someone hot when he could just go on Tinder and definitely run into someone hot?
Because they're obviously psycho. I mean,
Well, can we also talk about what Nicholas Sparks' book you're living in right now?
You know what's the
know.
weirdest?
No, Rob, it's
go
called
somewhere.
Smash or Pisser.
People are, there are. You do
Volume
know.
8.
Wait a minute. You do know that there are girls outside the door, right? Like you walk outside your house.
Look at Barnes's
and you
face.
go wherever you go to
Yeah.
the grocery store.
Dude, I'm an
Oh,
elf.
you missed
Come on,
them.
man.
There are
Trying to
women.
stay eclipse
No,
the
there are
sun.
literally women everywhere. Like, why would you
go to a
Look at us.
why would
Civil
you
space.
look, you don't have to pick a bookstore, okay? Go to the fucking auto shop. I don't know.
Go to the auto shop. Look at Joe. Look at Joe. He's like, oh, God.
Oh my gosh.
Go to the
This is
construction yard. Go to the
The
God, that's good
construction
stuff.
yard. You could meet men at a construction yard. That's true. That would
But okay, so that I cut that short because it went
gets
south.
off the rails in a minute.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Nick knew. I loved how Nick knew I was in trouble from the second I said that. Nick was like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, Megan."
He's like,
"Oh no." Look, it is hard. It is hard to be the only woman on a panel like that. I need.
sure.
Look, I
Sure.
mean, it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
Well,
and
the thing that impressed me the most was one, yes, you were the only woman on the panel, but I have young men in my life that I've got my son and I have my bonus son, and so I know what they were talking about, but I also know what you're talking about, and it was just like and I love the way you held your own. You didn't let it it got awkward later, but you still
It
held
got
your
a little
own.
awkward.
It got a little awkward. But that's the moment I was like,
I
"Who is
still
this-
look
who
to
is
this
this
day.
person?"
To this day, I know that I'm right. I know that I was right then. I know that I'm right now.
I agree.
And
I think
I
you're
have
right,
a
too.
son. I have a son, and I will give him that same advice. My advice to him is to get off the phone, get off the apps, meet somebody out doing something that you like to do. Like that's what you need to do. You need to get involved in activities that you enjoy, and hopefully, you'll meet and talk to as many women as possible. And start with grandmas if you need to break the ice. Just learn how to talk to women. You don't have to hit on every woman you see, but learn how to talk to them. Learn how to have some jokes in your back pocket. Make some women laugh. Make it your goal every day to go out and make a woman laugh. Not one that you maybe want to sleep with, just any woman, so that you can start feeling comfortable talking to women. That's all it takes. It's really all it takes. And and maybe if you're having such a hard time, you're picking the wrong kind of women. But there are women, most women, I think I know women pretty well. If you make us laugh and you make us feel good, you're getting a date, period. We love to laugh. And if you make me laugh and compliment me, give me a nice compliment, make me laugh. I mean, when I was dating, when I was single, that was all it would take. I would go out with you. I got picked up on the train before. Men would approach me, and if they were funny, it didn't really matter I
I do
can't
think
say
there's
that
something off with some of the girls these days. I will say
yes.
there is
Oh,
that. And
agreed.
I do think
Agreed.
that's a challenge for a lot of
Agreed,
young men.
But not all women are what you see on social media or TikTok. That's not how all women are. I mean,
know.
I go out and I'm around women all the time, and I don't see any of these super Barbied up women acting like they need sugar daddies. I know women who just want a nice man,
Yeah, right.
So I just don't. I think that when you spend all that time on those apps, I think you get the impression that all women are like this. And maybe it's just that all women on the apps are like this. Maybe it's the majority of women on those apps. Maybe you should just move on to something else. And by the way, to clarify, I do want to clarify about that clip. I was very, very clearly talking to Camelot. That was who I was addressing.
Yes, you were.
I was not talking. I was not talking to
I did
Kurt.
cut that part out. I did cut that part out because
I was not talking to Kurt. I was talking to Camelot, and a man like him, who's young, good looking, well built, he doesn't need dating apps. He's just being lazy. He could pick up a girl outside anytime he wants to. He's just being lazy. He knows it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't give the same advice to every person. It would just depend on who you are. And if you have a difficulty picking up women, I maybe wouldn't tell you to approach women in a bookshop because they might think you're a serial killer. I would tell you to do something different. I might tell you to go see a fashion consultant and a gym and get a gym buddy for a while first. It depends on who you are. And, everybody has their own challenges.
Yeah, I do have legal vices creepily poking over my shoulder.
I noticed that. I'm like, we both have Jeff watching over.
We have Jeff heads.
Jeff heads. We both have Jeff heads.
Or we're the Jeff heads.
By the way, look what Flux sent me. So I don't know if you know about these. Oh, the light's too bright. Oh, here we go. So back when law cards were a thing, mine got in here. This is me in front of an auto parts store, and it says it says love advice by Megan, where to meet the single ladies. And on the back, oh god, Farmhand Tom did these, and this is Flux. I love you so much, Flux, for sending me this because I never got my copy. It says Megan's dating tips. Some of the best relationships begin at the auto parts store. Tinder,
come on, and down to the zone.
Then there's one with a fire icon, and it says Tinder. Wait, I need my glasses. Oh my god. Tinder hates you and wants you to be alone and forever scrolling. I believe this. Because otherwise they would go out of business, right? If everyone found mates on Tinder and got married and they'd get off the app. So then the app, it would not survive. And then the third tip, Get outside and touch grass. I'm sorry, but these are great dating tips right here. Great. Tinder hates you. Touch some grass. Go to the auto parts store.
Oh God. Okay, so you currently have over 52,000 followers,
Yeah,
subscribers.
It's unbelievable. That
amazing.
blows my mind.
How long were you on YouTube before you really felt like you started to hit some traction?
Strangely enough, I started to hit traction the minute I dropped vomit from my stream.
Oh. That's a tip.
I believe that he was like a weight around my neck, as was some of the court, the custody stuff, because the only people who were interested in court custody cases were people going through it. And that is a difficulty to grow an audience. It's like a very what's a vomit?
What's a vomit?
Oh, Bruce. All I can tell you, Bruce, is you need to subscribe to Just J Hip, and it's right up your alley, man. You're gonna love the trolling that is happening over there. But for those of you who don't know, the person we call Vomit was a person that I worked on one story with in Missouri, and I let him do I did a weekly show on my channel with this person. He's a journalist for hire. We call him the Rent-A-Journo, and he is not very smart. And at the time, I do feel like I should say, and the only reason why I'm being critical like this is because this person who claims to have been a friend of mine dropped a bunch of my private text messages to him and has decided to join the anti-what the hales media ecosystem, to use me as some sort of bouncing off point for him to get famous and subscribers. And it's really gross because he says he was my friend, and that was clearly never true, because I would never drop somebody's text messages out there like that, especially someone who I called friend. Anyway, we did a weekly. He was one of the only journalists I knew at the time. And at the time I knew him, he actually did have an editor, and he was writing for the Daily Caller. And he got fired from that after, I think it was after or right around the time when I stopped doing that show with him. So whatever happened there, I don't know. And I didn't pay close attention to his reporting. I just knew that he was reporting the same types of stories, and we had worked on one of them together in Missouri. And so I didn't ever look into his stories. I never vetted his stories because I had my own I was working on. And we would just do a weekly roundup of basically, what stories are you working on? What stories am I working on? And he would give his updates. And I'm not fact checking that. I don't know. I don't have time to do that. So I was just assuming that he was telling the truth. I was assuming that he was doing his research. I was wrong. I was very wrong. So when there were some things that came up, some red flags that I did not like with what he was doing. And I found out that he had slept with a source and gotten her impregnated. And that was awful. I was like, are you kidding me? And then became his own story. He even admits all of this and says that my response to him when he told me was, well, I'm sorry to say it, Mike, but you're about to become one of your stories. And that is exactly what I said. You're about to become one of your stories. And I was very glad that I had cut ties with him. But strangely enough, once I did, and I branched out to other topics, my channel grew exponentially very quickly. I was at 10,000 when we were doing mostly family court things, and when he was a part of that weekly show. And when I moved on without him, I started covering more entertainment news, some covering, and that was the part of getting away from that family court thing that was making me sick. And my channel exploded overnight when And Just Like That was the first really big explosion. My reviews of And Just Like That went nuts. I think one of them has, oh gosh, was it over 100,000 views? I mean, I gained an entire new following just from people hate watching that show. And it was so fun. It was one of the most fun things ever. I made merch about it. We had merch that said, I survived. And just like that, with YouTube group therapy, I did live streams. And I mean, my channel doubled in size. I think I went from 10 to 26,000 in that season 1 of And Just Like That. And I made some great connections, like with Real Housewives Recaps Jen. I think she goes by RHR Jen now. RHR Jen she's such a great girl. I love her. She covers all the Meghan Markle stuff now, but her channel exploded from like 50,000. She's now at 177,000 subscribers. She has really gone, and her channel took off too with the And Just Like That. So there were a bunch of YouTubers that started hate watching And Just Like That. And we all kind of like, boom, it just like went crazy. And that's how I met. And that's how you build a YouTube channel, by the way. You collaborate with other YouTubers. And I met RHR Jen, and I met Diego Knows. He's so funny. His coverage of the And Just Like That was so funny too. I need to have him on again soon. We've been trying to make a plan. He's a crack up. He should have more subscribers than he does. His channel didn't blow up as much as the others, and it should have, because his coverage was hilarious. Diego Knows, and then there were just a bunch of channels that I was watching at the time. Then after that, so YouTube goes in waves, right? You have these big blow ups, and then it kind of settles down for a while, and then you move on to another topic, and then you hit one and it goes boom again. So the next big boom that I got was Johnny Depp. And it was funny, right? Because I had never covered a trial before, but I was watching Nick Rekieta's trial coverage, and I had so much to say about this trial that I found myself like just screaming at the screen. And I realized, why am I screaming at the screen? I could just stream this. Right. And then I could scream at you guys. And then I did. Yeah. And so then I had my sister join me, and she's a lawyer. My sister was with me for almost all of that trial. And that was so fun. And I'm so glad that Stephanie was able to do that, because she works so hard now that she's never able to come on with me. But she was on my panel. I had another lawyer that I had worked with in family court cases. He came on my panel, Sean Kohlmeyer. He was a lot of fun to have. And I met Gadfly, who did the hilarious meme songs, Objection, Hearsay. He came on one day because I wanted to interview him about that song, and then he never left. He just kept showing up every day. It was so great. I wish he had stuck around. I mean, after that trial, he went back to work and just didn't do YouTube much anymore. But I loved streaming with him so much. I miss him every day. I love Gadfly. He's great. And then, so I got another huge boost. And then I met Nick Rekieta through that. I had written an article on PJ Media, and one day he was complaining that nobody ever writes about him. And I sent him a message on Twitter, and I said, "You ungrateful bastard. What kind of ungrateful prick says something like that when here's this article with your name in it? I get no credit. You don't have no idea." And he thought that was funny. And then he invited me on, and I think I got like a $14,000 boost, or 14,000 subscriber boost out of that. And I picked up, I always like to say that, Nick has a strange audience, and some of them are incredibly cruel,
Oh yeah. It's the Thunderdome.
Everybody's scared of his chat, and rightfully so. His chat can be one of the scariest places on YouTube. But there are also some of the best people in that chat. There were also some of the best, and I got the best ones. I got all the best people in Nick's chat came over by me, and none of the bad ones. I didn't get any of them. They weren't interested. I mean, they loved to roast me while I was on his channel, but they never, they didn't come over and actually start, bothering me, which was great. This might be a good time to actually announce this, because I've been meaning to do so. So I might
breaking
as well put
news,
it out
ladies
there.
and gentlemen. Breaking news.
Speaking of Nick Rekieta, everybody knows that Nick's had his difficulties with the law and everything else. And I've never been shy about telling people that Nick is a friend. And I did not want to cover his stuff. It was too close, because I felt so, emotionally attached to it. I mean, I couldn't cover it like a news story. And I hope I hope that Nick, I think he can recover, and I think he can come back, and I think he can build his business back up, and I hope to see that one day real soon. Now he's facing his sentencing April, I think it's the 18th, somewhere around then. I will be writing a letter to the judge for Nick, and encouraging the judge to give him the deal that he worked out with the prosecutor for pleading guilty to possession. And I will be writing a letter for of basically saying all the good things about Nick. And I know that I'm going to face a bunch of criticism. I know that I'm going to face a bunch of nastiness from those people I talked about. And but I struggled with it for a while, thinking, can I really do that? Can I really put my name out there? But you know what? My name's already out there as someone who is a friend to Nick. And I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to hide that. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not still his friend, because I am his friend. And I have had friends who had addiction problems and struggled with that. And I didn't leave them behind either. And I'm always going to hope that my friends can recover. And I'm always going to give my friends second chances. And as far as I'm concerned, there was a lot of misinformation out there about Nick and his situation and what happened. I don't believe Nick has hurt anybody except himself. And whatever has happened between him and his family, that's their private business. But he has not harmed any of us. And he has not harmed any of his, I think that to anybody acting shocked that a lawyer was doing drugs or, has an alcohol problem, and everybody who watched Nick and everybody who watched his show knew he had a drinking problem. It wasn't a secret. You don't watch somebody down half a bottle of whiskey in 3 hours and think he's okay, and the idea, and every single night. So spare me. Everyone can spare me their outrage that you didn't know, or you thought that this was somehow different, or it's a good tale that it can get a hold of anybody, and you have to be careful. And I don't know why there is an effort to destroy this man over his struggles. And I'm not going to be a part of that. So I will be writing a letter, and it will be public. I'll probably release it before I send it to court, because someone else is going to take it off the docket or whatever, or, get it through a request. And I will put it out there myself. But I do believe every word that I've written in this letter of support for him. And I believe that his family and his community will not be served by any kind of incarceration. And it's no surprise that lawyer has fought with addiction and struggles, and he needs a second chance. And I'm the type of friend, when you're a real friend to me, there is nothing on earth that could make me walk away from you. That's not going to happen. I may have to, take a break for a while, or I may have to, step back or whatever, but I'm still here. If you want help, I'm going to be here to help you. I'm certainly not going to use you as content. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, and I'm not going to mock your situation, your very serious situation.
Right.
I just couldn't do that. So, breaking news: I will be filing that letter on behalf of Nick Rekieta for the judge to honor the deal that he has cut with the prosecutor.
I love it. Yeah, I have a lot of hope for Nick. When he was good, he was really good.
Really, really good. And you know what else that I'm putting into this letter too is people need to remember the things that he did for others. Right. Nick has always been an incredibly generous human being and kind to his audience, to strangers, he raised so much money. He raised so much money for people who wrote in and said, they would send him a $10 super chat and say, I have my mother's dying of cancer, and here's my GoFundMe, and could you please let people know? And Nick would always do it. Nobody does that. No, I don't do it. I'm always terrified that I'll be, encouraging some kind of fraud, right? Nick never did that. Nick always would. He helped people raise money for so many things. He was always just the most generous, open, kind person I ever met on YouTube. I have never, to this day, met someone with a channel his size and influence his size who was so generous with his platform. Never.
Yeah.
And sincere. And he was like that behind the scenes, and all of this garbage, people who were allegedly his friends and then decided to turn and make content and tell lies and all kinds of things. Gross. It's just gross. And you're not going to find that with me.
Right. Well, I'm proud of you for doing that. I think it's a really noble thing to do.
I don't know if it's how noble it is. It's just that I would do it for any of my friends. And it's like, I had to ask myself, why am I even considering not writing this? And the only reason is because Nick is a high profile person and I'm scared of what people will say about me because of this. But then I wouldn't be true to how I behave, because any other one of my friends, my very best friend, had a horrific cocaine addiction, a crack addiction for years. And it was horrific. And I would have done the same for her. I stood by her the entire time and it was hard, but you don't leave your friends. You don't leave your friends when they're sick and when they're hurting, and you just don't do that. And so I had to talk to myself and be like, hey, you know what? Don't be ridiculous. Of course you're going to write the letter. Of course you will.
Yeah.
And I hate to think that he asked me to write it and I might be one of the only people who said yes.
Yeah. I think he was abandoned by a lot of people who really said they were his friends before. A lot of them, abandoned him for content or for grift or for fun. I'm not sure. And, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, but I still support him. And I still, I hope for good things for him.
Allie Gators has an interesting comment. She said, Megan, we would love to hear the real TLDR without the Nick case, without the media BS. I do believe that will happen at some point. Nick has still not been able to really talk about what really happened because he's still under this situation. Once his plea deal is accepted and once that's all done, maybe he'll be able to, although it's difficult because I don't think that it will help him currently to really go back into all of that. I think it might be something that he needs to wait a while to put it all together. But I will tell you this, there is some serious, bad, corrupt stuff that happened in that case. And I'm not saying he didn't do what he was arrested for. I'm not saying he's admitted it. He did that.
Right.
But the stuff around his children, all of that, there was no evidence of any of what they said happened. And that's what's really sick is that, because I've studied these cases so many times and I know how CPS lies and I know how the state lies, they can just say anything and destroy your reputation and you can't check them because they won't allow you to. So, they allowed things to leak into the press that they should never have allowed to leak. And they would not allow certain things that anyone who's being accused of something like that should be allowed to check. And by the way, if Nick Rekieta had ever put his children in danger, if he had ever actually harmed them, he would still not have them back to this day. They returned them so fast. And you should know when the state does that, it's because they don't have anything. Because if they had even the slightest thing, that they would still not be back. I have never covered a case where CPS took children and they came back before 15 months. Nick's children were not gone out of his house for more than 3? So yeah, guys, I'm telling you, there's more stuff. There's more to it. And eventually one day it will come out. But I do not believe that he harmed his children. Definitely, I think that the situation has probably traumatized them. And he played a part in that, of course, because, if you break the law, you open yourself up to that sort of thing. And I know that he's devastated by that. I know he is. And but they're okay. They're okay. I've been, I'm going to put it in my letter. I have experience talking with his children and hearing them interact with one another and their dad, and they love him, and they have a hilarious and lighthearted relationship. And there's no, it's exact. And he's a very involved father, very involved with them
Right.
all the time. When I'm on the phone with Nick, he's usually with his children and shuffling them here and there and listening to and going to their concerts and there's no, all of this stuff that people want to believe. And I don't know why you would want to believe the worst of someone, but I refuse to do that. I will refuse to do that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to change the subject now. Best wishes for Nick, truly, truly. How do you balance real life and YouTube life?
Well, it's difficult. But I will say this, I've gotten better at it. I've gotten better at being able to do it. When trials are happening, it is very hard. Oh, hang on one second. Hang on. Here we go. Can I help you?
Nope.
Oh, I thought it was George. All right. It's when trials are happening, it's really difficult because gavel to gavel coverage is so much time, right? And my kids are in school most of the day, so daytime stuff is okay. It's not that bad. But the Kowalski case, that was another one that got a big boom on my channel too.
Sure.
That one, I was actually waiting tables and mothering and covering it at the same time, and so I had to do like some of the stuff. I had to do like some of it afterwards and like catch up, and that actually worked out okay. Lately, it's been interesting because I didn't used to stream at night, because I would do most of my stuff during the day when the kids were at school. And now, because Tug and I have, we have this partnership and we've been streaming at night. But not till 8:00. So I still get to do after school stuff, snacks, whatever, dinner. And then by the time the stream starts, my littlest one is off to bed by 8:30. So there's only like really a half an hour that I miss. It works out. It's been working, but I'm hoping that when Tug gets more time, because now he's full-time, YouTube full-time.
Right.
And he doesn't have a second job. I'm hoping that we can expand and do some more like daytime stuff so I can get a few nights off. Because right now I'm like doing Monday through Thursday at night. And then I take Friday, Saturday, Sundays off to do family stuff. And it's so far it's been okay. It's been good. And it's definitely grown the channel a lot, but it's tough. It's difficult. And sometimes I can't do it. Sometimes in fact, lately it's been hard because we've had hospitalization and some stuff with kids.
Yeah.
I always try to, obviously family's first. And I always feel bad because I feel like my audience is counting on me to be somewhere at a certain time. And then I can't do it, And so I feel guilty about that. But my audience is so great. They always are so forgiving. And my locals crew, oh my gosh, I love locals so much. I've got a live chat going over there right now, meganfox.locals.com. And I love them because they're so long suffering. I have not been able to do just locals content as much as I used to because I have so much stuff going on with my family, but they still stick around and I appreciate them for that so much because there's ups and downs, it ebbs and flows with the way life goes. And summertime is difficult because the children are home all the time. And so it's like, it's a whole juggling thing.
It is. It's a lot.
It's a lot, but I appreciate my audience so much because they really help. They make me feel good about it because they're always like, don't worry about us, family first, and it's sweet. It's sweet. And we definitely will do more locals content as much as I can. Brad and I have been doing these hilarious Caleb Hammer videos that we sit and watch people make bad financial decisions. We need to do it. We need to do one again soon. You should join us for one of those. They're fun.
Oh, that'd be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah.
If you could give a new streamer one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't attack other YouTubers. That is never a way to build your channel. Make collaborations with other YouTubers. Focus on making friends with other YouTubers, especially YouTubers that you like and admire and you want to emulate. Make them your friends, entertain them in some way, get noticed by them in some way. I did that with Nick. I saw his show. I loved his channel. I loved what he was doing. I wanted to learn from him. And I knew that the best way I'd be able to do that is to make a friend. And I happened like that. I mean, Nick and I, we have he feels like a brother to me, and he always has. Like the second I met him, and we've always had so much fun together. And that's what you need to focus on. Finding people that you really love on YouTube and find a way to make friends. And then collaborate, or find other YouTubers that are doing what you're doing and collaborate with them. The best example I can give you right now is just J-Hip. So just J-Hip, just J-Hip like started a channel. And I remember you telling me that he was going live, and I recognized him from the chat, but I had never had a interaction with him. And I was like, oh, that's cool that he's starting a channel. Good. I didn't actually get a chance to watch that one. I was doing something else. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, and then he found something really creative and funny that made me laugh, that peripherally involved me, and decided to make fun of that Rent-A-Journo who has been so awful to me. And I thought, well, this should be interesting. And Starchasm was, and I had been on a stream with Starchasm on one of Brad's streams, his cooking stream, and she had been on there. So I had met her, and she's very funny. And I was at the gym, and I was on the treadmill. And when I'm on the treadmill, I always listen to YouTube. That's just what I do. And it was a Saturday, and it was that show. Jay, I almost fell off the treadmill. I am not kidding you. I laughed so hard. And that's really all it takes. That's all it takes is getting somebody's attention that's bigger than you, and they like it, and they tell people about it. And I couldn't not tell people about how funny that show was. It was so funny. I immediately sent it to Tug, and I was like, turn this on right now. Turn it on right now. You're going to fall out of your chair. And same, he was laughing so hard. So it's another thing to emulate people that you like, but try to find creative, different things that other people aren't doing. So if Jay had started a channel and just started talking about What the Hales case, I don't think it would have got my attention because lots of people are doing that. I don't think I would have noticed. But he found a way to do something so creative and interesting and funny that it was different than everybody else. It's somehow it's related to What the Hales, but it isn't covering the case. It's just trolling and fun. And that was exactly what this case needed other than a sovereign citizen, because that would also make this case
that would also be hilarious.
But like it was exactly what it needed, was just this really funny, irreverent mocking and trolling of some of the most absurd things that are going on in the anti-What the Hales ecosystem. And I laughed so hard. I couldn't breathe. People were looking at me in the gym on the treadmill like I was going to have a heart attack. And then I listened to it like 2 or 3 times because I couldn't believe how funny. I couldn't believe how the dry sense of humor and Starchasm's accents, and Mary Lankins came into it. God, we love Mary Lankins. This is the kind of stuff I love. I just love it so much. So I would say if you're looking to build a YouTube channel, look at what J-Hip did. Find something that no one else is doing, but people are interested in. That was brilliant, Jay. It really was. Like he took a topic that people are all focused on, and he kind of like separated off and made something hilarious that's tangentially related, but different.
Right.
And it was
like you take a breath from the stress and the anxiety of it all, and then you can just laugh at people being stupid on the internet.
Starchasm. We know I'm the real Star. By the way, Star, every time yesterday's show, I haven't got through all of it, but I was rolling around when you were like, I still haven't received a paycheck. I'm
Me either, by the way, Megan, now that you're here.
Oh God. You know, the funny thing is being accused of paying people to do this. First of all, I'm not that creative. I couldn't have come up with that. I don't think I would have come up with it. You guys are so much better at the trolling than I am. And you, boy, Rosalind, I would never want to be trolled by you. If you ever decide to troll me, I'm going to throw in the towel. Like I've lost, because the trolling is epic. You guys deserve like a master's degree in trolling for what you're doing. And it's so funny being accused of paying you to do what I know you would do for free.
I know. Well, and I do for free.
I know.
Sorry, I need to cough. Hang on with.
Oh, look at how good she is at the mute button. She knows how to use her mute button. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to do that to anybody. No, it's fun. It's all in good fun, but the fact that people then make it into this big conspiracy just made I about died. I was like, is he really going there? He's really going there.
Yeah, you know, one of the reasons why too, like channel growth and everything like that, it does rely on collaboration with other YouTubers, which is why YouTube encourages collaboration between YouTubers. And because you get to be introduced to new audiences that never saw you before, like Ricada's audience, or then the And Just Like That audience. And then there's the, Dave Neal's audience, right? I hooked up with Dave Neal when we were doing the Laura Owens case. And so his audience, who never knew me before, now knows me. And I got a bunch of viewers from that. That's the way YouTube works. Right. And to couch that as some sort of bribery scandal is so crazy to me. Like, so we have this crazy lawyer who is saying that this is a contrived story for YouTube fame and we're profiting off of this court case. Well, yeah, I profit off lots of court cases. I mean, I've done the Gwyneth Paltrow trial, was absolutely hysterical, and that was a big boom. The Kowalski trial, another one. I made a ton of money on that one too. But so does Law and Crime. So does Court TV. So what? Right. What are you talking about? And the way YouTube works, and the way they train you to use YouTube is it's a collaboration type of thing. You get hooked up. And so you will never make money on YouTube by tearing down other creators. You will never do that. You will never grow your channel. You might for like a short period of time while somebody is the butt of a joke and everybody is going out, you're going after some channel but those fights get tiring and people don't like them. Eventually they get sick of it. Eventually they want to laugh, they want good stories, and they want to see people who are friends, and they want to see people get along, and they want to see nobody really likes the drama. No one. I mean, no one likes the inner fighting, right? And it's just not a way to build a channel on negativity. So that's my big word of advice. Find something that's positive, entertaining, especially funny, and go for it and make friends on YouTube. Don't make enemies.
Right. If you could take over another YouTuber's channel for 24 hours, which channel would it be and what chaos would you cause?
Oh my God, 24 hours. If I could take over somebody's channel. Geez, that's a good question. I don't know if I can answer this. Whose channel would I want to take over?
Huh.
Well, I mean, I can't think of anybody that I'd want to take. I love my channel so much and I love what I'm doing so much. And I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I have never even thought of what somebody else I would like. You know what I mean? I don't envy anybody else on YouTube. I admire other people, but there's nobody I can think of that I would want to take over their channel. I mean, I know people are saying Mr. Beast or okay, maybe Legal Vices.
I was gonna say, I can't believe you didn't come up with that one right off the shoot.
Yeah, yeah, I would if I could take over a channel. But it would only be funny. It would only be good if he were still here to laugh at it.
Yeah.
But I mean that Legal Vices, I guess. And
that would be fun.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Maybe Connor can let us do that on his birthday.
I still have to, and I just want you guys to forgive me. I know that I've been saying for a while that I was going to edit the funeral audio that I have because I have permission to give it to you guys and let you hear it. I haven't edited it yet, and I know I'm avoiding it, because I haven't listened to it since we were there, and still really tough.
Yeah.
But I do want to let you know, guys, I promise to give that to you at some point. I promise to give that to you. It's not that I'm not withholding it from you for any reason other than I'm avoiding it.
Yeah. No, I think
But
everybody
that's-
gets that. Everybody gets that. I think you
But
get a
it's really
pass.
good, and I want you to hear it. And so I need to like, do my taxes and then do that. Get all the bad stuff out of the way.
If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Oof. There are so many things I would like to have. My superhero be. I think I would like to have the ability to get, and this is going to sound crazy because it's not really I would like a superpower almost like Elon Musk has, because he's like a real life superhero, right?
Kind of.
He acts or he says something and then it happens because he's
Yeah.
so connected. I would like that superpower. I would like the superpower to be able to send a tweet and say, this judge is corrupt as fuck. And I would like to see impeachment proceedings begin. I would like to be
That
able
would
to
be nice.
that's
Yeah.
the superpower. I want that. Whatever that is, that's what I would like to have.
That's fun. That's fun. Okay, since I asked the guys this question, it's only fair that I ask you. Which do you prefer? Boxers, briefs, or other?
On men
Whatever.
or on me.
It's really not about the answer. It's really about how you respond to the question.
I've never thought boxers seemed very comfortable. They seem baggy and like I can't imagine putting that under pants.
Yeah.
Like,
seems
I
it'd
have
be
to-
bunchy. Yeah.
Yeah, bunchy. There's nothing worse than bunchy things that are bunching. In fact, I just recently threw out all my underwear and went and bought that what is that thin material? It's like, it's almost skin-like. It's so thin and like you can't even feel that it's there. It's really thin and I don't know what you call it. It's not microfiber. It's like, I don't know.
It's like out of viscose or something. Like it's
Whatever, that super, super thin, stretchy stuff. I now have, that's my entire underwear collection is just made out of that because I love the fact that you can't feel it. Like, so whatever it is you can't feel, that's what I want.
so other.
Other.
Do you have any regrets?
Oh God, of course. Of course.
You don't have to tell me what they are. I'm just
My
curious,
biggest regret recently has been that our move from Chicago to New York was really good for our family finances because of the job opportunity my husband had. But the trade-off was very difficult for my children to leave their friends and their homeschool group and their lives.
right.
And that has just not resolved. And this place is not where we came from. And it's very, very different. And the place where we live, I love rural New York, but I'm not the one growing up here who has to deal with what it's like to be a kid here. And one of the problems is that, and I don't want to upset anyone by saying this, it's just that we grew up in a very urban Chicago suburb type of place. Okay, so I don't know if I can explain it. This place is exactly like, and I've heard this from other people, so I know this is true. It's Appalachia. Okay, so it's like moving your family from, we're not technically Appalachia, but we have all the same problems and the same challenges that many in Appalachia face. There is so much poverty here. There's so much drug abuse, neglect of children, separated families. The peers and children that my children are in contact with in the public school are just not what they're used to. And it's a real difficulty. It's very big culture shock. And I'm not sure I would have made the same decision if I had known what it would be like for them. It's very isolating. It's very isolating here for them. And while I know that, they'll get past it, I'm sad about it a lot that they have missed out on that normal place where we left for this abnormal,
Right.
beautiful place, but a place that is steeped in some serious trauma. And it's just awful and on a lot of levels for them. And I hate that they feel like being a child is so difficult that you're at the whim of your parents, and your parents can just pick you up and move you, and you have no say in it. And they had no say in it, although they were excited. We were all excited. We didn't know what adventure, but it was hard for them to leave, and they left all their friends, and they still haven't really replaced those friends. It's
Yeah, that's rough.
and the friends that we left, people don't keep in contact anymore. It's not, you'd think that they would, because you have that FaceTime and, but you don't.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
you
been
don't.
that's one of my biggest regrets, especially recently. It's been hitting hard, and, but that's life,
So one of my all-time favorite interview questions is from James Lipton. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear when you arrive at the pearly gates?
It was all a dream. It wasn't real.
Oh.
We get to start over. That's what I'd like to hear.
Yeah. You've already learned the lessons. Now go have fun.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Like you just woke up.
Yeah.
It's all over now.
Wow. I like that. I like that a lot. So what's next on the horizon for Megan Fox?
What's next? Just the same as, I'm plugging along. What's next is we are gonna tomorrow.
Otter Creek the musical.
Otter Creek. I am working so hard on that, by the way. It's not even joke. I've got like 3 new songs. I am working on Otter Creek. It's actually called Bruce the Musical Year 1, because we've been at this a year now. And I have to do an entire year. Just year 1 is going to be part 1 of this musical. Tomorrow, I'm expecting a unbelievable, probably 10-page order from that judge, and I cannot wait to read it. I hope it's tomorrow. I have a feeling he's working through this weekend, and I think it's going to be tomorrow. And we're going to find out how badly Bruce has screwed up and what the sanctions are going to be. It's the craziest case I've ever watched in my whole life. It's pretty crazy. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most. But what I'm going to do going forward, I'm going to keep on doing what I do. And that means, and we face some criticism, Tug and I, for why are you on the same case? Well, because for one, it's the craziest legal battle I've ever covered in my whole life. How could I stop? And also, Tug and I are like, separated at birth, because we both have we get obsessed with certain cases, and we have to know what happens, and we have to keep going and keep digging. It's not enough for me. I'm not the kind of person who can make general overview videos every day about whatever's going on in the news. It's not my jam. It's not my thing. And even on PJ Media, if you read my articles, I'm not the kind of person who can, if I have to, I'll do it, like whatever the daily news is. Okay, blah, 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 repeating, quoting. I can do it. I just am not, that doesn't flip my switch. What
Right.
flips my switch is to dig deep into a story nobody else is into and find interesting and important things in it. And I have absolutely done that in this case. There has so much has come out. I have uncovered the Northport stories and the, Lynette's background. And I've talked to people from years before Jeremy Hales ever met this woman and her patterns of behavior. And that takes a long time. But I have found a story here that is absolutely newsworthy. And I feel like I don't have to defend that anymore, because here we are, we're about to watch a lawyer get sanctioned in a way that's going to probably make national news. I can't imagine that like a Florida Sun Sentinel isn't going to pick this up when they find out that a Florida federal judge has had to sanction and like revoke a Pro Hoc VJ and probably give a $40,000 to $50,000 sanction. That's news. And here I was in it in the middle. Here I was trying to tell everyone this story is huge. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be made into a Netflix show. So what's next is me getting ready for my close-up on whatever documentary is going to come out of this one.
Well, I appreciate you spending, over 2 hours with me this afternoon. I really do. I was going to hit some of these super chats. Do you have time to stick around?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Debbie Baker, very generous again. Another 5 memberships. Thank you. I hope everybody said thank you to Debbie. We've got Rickle64, worth repeating, tied to a super chat. These two are a pair that beats a 3 of a kind. Aw, that's sweet. Let's see. Slug Entertainment, $1.99. Megan, when you're in DC, we are going to the museum. What museum?
Well, I've been to most of them there. I'm not a huge fan of that the Smithsonian History Museum. I prefer the one that has the First Lady's dresses. I haven't been there in a really long time, and I would like to go. I also have not been to the African American Museum, which I hear is really cool, and I keep wanting to go, and I haven't been there yet. So that's one I haven't seen. And also, isn't there a Native American one? I feel like I tried to get the kids to go there, and they were too tired because we had done too many things.
A month in DC.
Yeah,
I could spend easily a month.
You know what my children remember about the last trip to DC is me walking them past the FBI building going, look to the left, kids. That's where all the bad people are. That's the FBI, and they're corrupt and horrible.
FBI bad.
Yeah, and there were cameras outside, and we were like, I was like,
oh no,
the FBI. I'm sorry, but I don't like the FBI.
Dwayne Rupp in here again with another 10 gifted memberships. You guys are so kind to me. I appreciate it. I really do. Really do. Roy Lonsinger, member for 1 month. Crystal P's magically created life. Yes. You heard it here. Folks.
I was just thinking I was going to write a new song about the Crystal Peen Emporium.
You were.
I was, yeah. Wasn't I just texting you that?
You did.
I may need to do that. Do you guys want to hear? Okay, listen. How many super chats do you have to go through? Do you have?
Not very many. I've got a couple more. Just a couple.
Oh. All right. Well, yeah, you have to. Okay. If we set a super chat goal, and if you hit it in the next couple minutes, I will give them a taste of my brand new song that's going in Bruce the Musical, which is absolutely hilarious. There's no video yet, but it is hilarious.
Let's see. I'll set a super chat goal. How do I do this? Never done this before.
Oh, it's fun. You just hit that little set a super chat goal. Just click all super chats and all the colors. And then you set a time limit, like, I don't know, 15. You can set it to like 15 minutes, whatever, 20 minutes.
Colors, 30
all
minutes.
The colors. And then you have to write
20
in.
Minutes?
Yeah, do 20 minutes. These people will do it. Don't send any right now.
It says 15 or 30.
Yeah, do 15. And then in the what's the thing, just put in Megan's new song and then hit okay, and it should start. Don't send her super chats yet until she gets it set up, or they won't count.
Okay. All the colors. Got it. Okay.
Oh,
There we go.
and you should redirect over to Tug. He's live. I didn't realize he
He
went
is?
live
Oh,
3 minutes ago.
I didn't know
He
that.
went live
Okay.
3 minutes. Well, he usually goes live before the hails go on at 8 or whatever
my
time they go on.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, well then I'll
Okay.
try to get through these. Slug, $2. Megan, how old were you when ancient Rome fell?
Thanks for
Rude.
for making me feel old. I mean, like honestly, I'm not that old.
Zach, $5. I know I wear Rosalind's high heels, but this has been too much estrogen even for me. Okay, well, stop stretching my heels out and bring back my bikini bottoms, please.
Funny.
Just J hit $5. Megan, you were making me blush again. I think he had to go already. But thank you so much, Jay.
I believe in praising people who do creative and interesting things, and he's definitely he impressed me, and that is sometimes hard to do. You know, you're the same way. You impress me too. Like that, when you started making those parody videos, I will never forget Scummy Cahunts and the Turtle Snatchery. I mean, I laughed so hard. I must have watched that 10 times. Like. I was like, Rosalind is a genius. Rosalind is a genius. I mean, Rosalind is awesome. We all know that, but Rosalind is a genius.
I was like, am I lost my mind, or because I couldn't stop laughing?
No, you're absolutely correct. It's so funny.
$5. Now I can blame Megan for Jay.
Oh God, Dwayne, good to see you.
Bad duck, quack quack. Back at you. Bad duck, another $5. I avoid Rosalind because she kills me over and over by taking my breath away every time. Oh, yep. working on the one-liners, are we?
Yeah, working on the compliments. Look at that.
The pickup lines.
The pickup lines. That one's not bad.
Not bad. JKD back $2. Boxers, boots, or cargo panties.
Cargo panties. See, I'll never forget my mother telling me that she did this, and I was like, Mom, what kind of invention is that? She probably told me when I was like a teenager, and I was like, oh, I can't even think about why you want this for an invention.
Oh, goodness.
It's funny.
Just J-Hip. Thanks for the stream, ladies. I love you both. Have a great night. Good night, Jay. I guess he's got to go work on the railroad. Let's see. Super sticker, Vicky Bushwood, $1.99 super sticker. I can't see it. Where is it? I like to kind of see them, but thank you. I appreciate it. Now where am I? I don't know how you guys do this. Hey Joe, $4.99. Bring the new song. Thank you, Hey Joe. King Bob, $2. I don't know if that was a super sticker or not. He just wants it, I guess. Just show it. Starcasm, thank you for the 9.99 cents. I appreciate it. Vice Baby, $5. Always need a Megan Fox music. Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Dwayne Rep, $1.99 super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Starcasm, 99 cents. Thank you, Star. She's really going to hit that goal.
Awesome.
Your mom, $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. You guys are cracking me up. I appreciate it so mumuch. Sarcasm, another 99 cents. She's trying to smack me upside the head with these 99 cents. Liz Bird, $5. Hey all. Hey Liz. Good to see you. Good to see you. Starcasm with another 99 cents. Thank you. I know it looks like we hit the goal.
Awesome.
L Flocking Lou, $2. Almost there. Bring on the new song.
Okay.
And Dwayne Rapp, $2. Song. Very simple, to the point.
Song.
All
right, here we go.
Oh, look. Dan Davis, new member. Thank you.
Okay, all right, you ready for this? Yep. It's called Poor Bruce. So basically what I did was I took one of his motions. I made Grok read it, and then I asked Grok to write a song based on this motion. This is what it came up with, and I used a Broadway style male vocal, emotional, whiny, and complaining and sad. All right, you ready?
That's perfect.
Oh, woe is me, poor Bruce Manskin, a squatter, a lawyer trapped in a nightmare, no less. I took on this case pro bono so pure, defending the meek from a YouTube allure. But now I'm the villain, the fool in the play. A magistrate's wrath comes to ruin my day. He threatens arrest, oh the marshal he'd call. I'm shaking, I'm quaking, I'm destined to fall. This isn't law, it's a circus, a farce. A YouTube sensation with me as the arse. Deuce foreskin they call me, their cameras will roll. I'm begging the judge, please release my soul. Vacate this consent, set me free from this fight. Extraordinary woes haunt my days and my nights. Oh pity poor Bruce in this Broadway of pain. A lawyer who's whining again and again. The plaintiff's a star, 700K strong. He scripts the charade and I'm dragged along. Extortion he cried, but it's all a big lie. Perjury sworn, yet the court won't ask why. I filed my motion so righteous, so grand, but the magistrate strikes with a furious hand. Bring your checkbook, he sneers from the bench. My practice, my family, oh the stench of the stench. This isn't law, it's a circus, a farce. A YouTube sensation with me as the arse. A show cause hearing, April 3rd's the date. I'm trembling with fear of a handcuff fate. Vacate this consent, let me flee this mad scene where justice is lost in a viral machine. Oh pity poor Bruce with his whiny refrain. A lawyer who's sinking again and again. Oh, I flew from Boston to Pensacola's shore. 2 hours of depot, but he
AI can't say depot. I don't know why.
be jailed, barked in my face, my advocate sealed. I'm a total disgrace, and the fans they'll descend with their phones held high to mock me, to film me, to watch Bruce Matskin cry. I've got hearings, a wife, a kid with a band, but the circus won't stop, it's out of my hands. This isn't law, it's a circus, a farce. A YouTube sensation with me as the arse. Law mounts the game.
Law mom.
I'm drowning in filings. Oh why? Vacate this consent. Hear my pitiful plea. Extraordinary chaos is strangling me. Oh pity poor Bruce in this spotlight of shame. A lawyer who's whining forever my name. So here's my motion, my last desperate stand. 28 USC, take it out of his hands. FRCP 73, I beg and I bawl. Extraordinary cause, won't you answer my call? I'm not frivolous, no, I'm a saint in this storm. But the magistrate's rage makes my heart deform. Oh, save me, dear judge, from this YouTube hell. Let Bruce Manskin live to fight and to tell.
It's good, right?
I love it. I love it.
I know. I have so much fun with this. Although when Suno is acting up, and it had a lot of problems yesterday. I was texting Tug. I'm like, I can't sit here and do this anymore. It's driving me crazy. It will not give me what I'm asking for. So it is a whole process. And if the What the Hales ecosystem is trying to create Suno songs now, that would make me laugh, because I guarantee you that it's going to be lame, whatever it is, because they don't have a good sense of humor. They're like, nothing they do is really funny, and they still haven't figured out that like just bitching and moaning is not entertaining. And so, you know, I wish them all the luck in the world. Go ahead and try. But you really can't make funny meme songs if you're not funny. Good luck, though.
Dan Davis, thank you so much for the $5. My favorite two YouTube ladies. What did I do to deserve that? Wow.
Aw.
I hope things are working out, Dan. We do need to catch up on the current state of the power. So I would like to follow up on that for you, or with you. Well, I think that's it. You know, guess we should send everybody off to Tug's stream.
Yeah, he started, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
Tug Raid.
All right. So everybody that stopped by, thank you. Those of you that are still here, thank you so much. And Megan, thank you. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed that.
You're welcome. See you guys. Bye, chat.
Bye. See you in the tubes.
It's tell me everything. Stars inside gonna sing and swing. With Rosalind too, there's joy in the air. Life's a show and we'll